Good morning, brothers and sisters in Christ. Sister Sarah here. I hope everybody is doing well. Today is October 7th. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, and doing great. Well, I haven't done a YouTube video in a long time. Why? Well, a few things. One, basically, I didn't have a lot of interest, and I still might not, but I've been doing TikToks, and I really feel that we're turning the tide is turning our way. But the more and more I get out there and I talk to people, and I since my last video, I was asked to leave my church. Long story, I'll get into it one day, but people are waking up. People don't want to be called out for the things that are going on. I mean, right now we've had the Queen dying, to now Kanye West and is coming out with White Lives Matter shirts, and people are losing their mind, and we're talking about nuclear war, and I mean, I can go on and on and on. I mean, there's a lot going on. When I say a lot, I mean a lot going on. And, I do my Bible study every day, every morning. And the more and more I read, and the more and more I study, even the books that were stolen from us, that our biggest thing is ego. And ego seems to be in everything, from people's opinions to people's businesses. I mean, I get why ego is there, and I understand the purpose of ego, why, but then we go into this, we're in this satanic area where we're trying to go against God. We're trying to say, well, I'm a man and I should be a woman, and I'm a woman and I should be a man, and who cares what God says? I'm going to do it my way. And I get that, and I understand that, but a lot of that I feel is a lack of maturity. We went through my kids' era, which you're talking, I had kids in the 90s. We started this, everybody got an award. Well, that's all well and good. I get it, participation, but there, what that does is we knock the ego down. What we said was, it doesn't matter how hard you try. It doesn't matter if you worked every day after school and you went and you practiced your goal, or you practiced your swing, or it didn't matter. What your efforts no longer matter. And that's what they're doing to women. Now, the women in Iran, they're going through it. Women here, I mean, I get it. There's an exception to every rule, but women here have no idea what being repressed is. I don't care what color your skin is. If you have not lived in a country like Iran, you have no clue. None. Zero, zilch, zip. Because we're not told what to wear. If a man tells us what to wear, I don't care who it is, you're gonna get told. Okay? And again, that's ego. That's male ego, feeling that their opinion matters more than a woman's opinion. Their culture is all ego. And being egoless is a hard thing to find. And the thing is what we need to remember is that ego isn't as much the problem with what people do with ego, and how they truly can affect other people's well-being mentally, because they think that their way of life is better, so they're going to look down upon this one group and feel that this one group is lesser than. And you got to understand something. In their culture in Iran, it takes 2 women to make 1 man, or even less than that. But they do not think women are human. They really do not. They do not have a reverence for what women do. What men don't understand, especially these men, they wouldn't have their life if they didn't come through the porthole of another woman. Every human being on this planet came from a woman. Period on the sentence. I'm sorry. You can report me, whatever. But bottom line, every human being on this planet came from the loins of a woman. Period. So what we're doing is we're using ego to diminish others. So ego to Iran, ego men to diminish women, to be lesser than. And it's just no different than the church. And the church distorts information from the Bible in the sense that it uses ego. You know, men shouldn't, or women shouldn't be pastors, and there's all these arbitrary rules, and that's what they are. They're strictly arbitrary rules set out of ego. And you know, we talk about narcissists a lot on TikTok. We talk a lot about what to look out for when it comes to narcissism. And there's narcissism in every culture. There's narcissism in every religion. There's narcissism in every species, even animals. I mean, come on. Dogs are one of the most narcissistic animals you'll ever meet. Even though but at the same time, they're the most unconditionally loving animals too. So the thing is we tend to always want to be right. When we're in an argument with somebody, half the time we spend, instead of listening to the other person, genuinely listening to the other person, we're in the process of thinking how to answer a question that was probably, or a statement that was probably 5 minutes ago. And so the whole time that we're trying to remember this one statement that we're going to come up with a rebuttal to, we're not listening to what the person's saying. And that again is ego. And God, Jesus, loved without ego. Now, everybody would say there's people that are don't believe in God and say, oh, he's the ultimate narcissist. And you know, you had to follow him, and you had to live up to a certain standard. But what the people don't understand is that us as humans genuinely have the ability to be both. We have the ability to be as evil as there can be. And we all know that. We all have seen that firsthand. We've seen the Jeffrey Dahmers of the world. We've seen we know what evil is. But we tend to shrug it off, and we tend to make allowances for it and say, oh, well, he's a narcissist, or you know, she has very low self-esteem, so she doesn't think highly of herself, and you know, we need to prop her up. And you know, and then you see these temper tantrums in a Walmart from a woman who clearly has never been told no, or who clearly has never been told that the world doesn't revolve around her, that she thinks if she screams loud enough and throws a big enough temper tantrum that she's going to get her way, because clearly anybody and everybody in her world has catered to that. So her ego is off the charts. But she's probably got no self-esteem because she thinks she could do everything, but everything she does, she fails at, and then she thinks she's a piece of crap because her parents told her, oh, you could do anything. No, you can't. God gives us gifts. Some of it, I can draw, I can paint. Can I sew? Absolutely not. Nope, can't sew. Don't want to sew. Not because I can't sew, not because I can't learn to sew, but I have no desire to sew. I have no, I don't have that But there is somebody else that I know people who that's their whole life. If they move to a town, they can't move to a town unless they make sure there's a decent fabric shop in town. Okay? That, again, we have to respect each other's individuality to 100% love each other. And what the biggest problem, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. My mom was a model, and she was beautiful. She was a look-alike for Twiggy. Now, this is way before all y'all out there. You don't know who Twiggy is. She was this really super thin. And when I say super thin, she was like 6 foot tall, and she weighed like 80 pounds wet. Well, my mom was the same way. My mom looked almost identical to her. I mean, you could barely tell them apart. So my mom would get booked to do stuff that Twiggy would sign up for but didn't want to do. She felt was beneath her, which was like boat shows and that kind of crap. So my mom would, what are you doing? Oh my goodness. We got people making right-hand turns into a one-way street. Oh boy. Anyways, so my mom was a super skinny model, and when I say skinny, she was skinny. She was like 79, 80 pounds, and she's about 6 foot, 5'9", 6 foot. So she would go to these boat shows, but they starved themselves. And to be a body image, they made you hate yourself. They made you try to become a body image that was physically unhealthy, 100% unhealthy. Couldn't get any more unhealthier than that body image ever. Or that you should hate yourself because you're not that body image. And a body image that 90% of the public could not maintain. Not maintain without drugs, alcohol, and all the other bad things that you had to do to maintain said body style. Why did they want us to hate ourselves so much? And they did the same to men. Toxic masculinity. Oh, it's bad to be a man. Oh, you're verbally abusive. You're this. That. We didn't teach our men to be men. And then we wonder why we're in the situation we are when there's nobody signing up for the military, and you have all of these boys wanting to cut off their you-know-whats and become girls. We're filling the food full of hormones. And they just did a study on these women brought their kids' lunches home from this free lunch program, and they got a good amount of free lunches together, and they tested them, and in that food was hormones. I mean, high levels of metals and magnesium and just crap. And then we wonder why we have the most obese children. We have an obesity problem. We are taught to hate ourselves because Christ lives within us and we were made in his image. They don't want you to understand the power you hold to heal yourself. You don't need all of these chemicals out here. You don't need all of this caffeine and Pepsi. All of it is poison. There's stuff in our food that it's not allowed anywhere else in the world because it's cancer causing. We should be the safest, aren't we? Wouldn't you think, if we were ahead of the time and we were supposedly a great nation, and we care about our people. Well, if we care about our people, why are we poisoning them? They're poisoning you. Look at the ingredients on your kids' cereal. There's cleaning material in there. There's metal in there. They say, I was reading this article, that the average person every month eats a credit card amount of plastic. You might as well just pull that damn thing out of your wallet and start chewing on it, because you eat a credit card amount of plastic a month, either in the water, the food, or the So I'm not trying to lecture y'all, but we got to check our egos. We gotta realize how we're talking to people, because our ego, my ego, standing in line too long, or somebody cuts me off, or something, that's my ego. Ego is hard to keep in check, but having ego and being able to put your ego aside and love every single one of us. Now, I don't care if the color or the creed, you're supposed to even love your enemies. It's not our job to handle our enemies. That's his job. And guess what? He does a much better job than I would do. Some of the stuff he comes up with is pretty darn creative. So, as much as you want to judge somebody for for even if somebody in traffic in front of you is doing, you don't know what's going on in their day. We are not able to be in the heads of the people that we're around every day. But the one thing we can control is how we react. How we react to other people. That is the one thing we're 100% in control of. And if we're going to be in control of that, we need to check our ego. We need to learn that not everybody is having the same day we're having. Or maybe everybody is having the same day we're having, so don't take it out on everybody else. This is the hardest lesson I have. The two hardest lessons is loving myself. I mean, really loving myself. And checking my ego. So, as things progress, when things that are happening, and there's a lot happening, people are getting arrested, government officials are getting arrested in California for selling votes to China. You've got Chinese bases, cop bases here in our country. You've got the World War III. If NATO approves Ukraine's application, it's automatically Article 5 kicks in, and we've got World War III. Y'all were worried, oh, Trump is gonna put us into World War III. He's got the red button. He's got the nuclear button. Who's taking us into World War III? Who's causing 3 million undocumented migrants to flow over the border? 3 million. Did you know that 3 million people moved out of the state of New York? Same with, I think, San Francisco lost like over 1 million, maybe 2 million. But we're just going to work and we're just not saying anything, and we're just going to pretend because it doesn't affect our little bubble. Well, it's about to affect your little bubble if you haven't gone to the gas station anytime soon. It's going to affect your little bubble when they start really coming down on this whole school thing and everything else. Guys, we really need to wake up. And we really need to get on our knees, and we really need to realize that we need to check our ego. Because I don't care if you're MAGA and you think, oh, I'm right, or you're liberal and, oh, you know, MAGA is evil. It all boils down to ego. It's for the greater good, right? We have such a problem with ego, especially Americans. You know, Americans think they're so much better, and they're not. No one's better than any other person. That's an ego thing right there. Ego has never gotten me anything but nothing. Self-esteem is different than ego. I learned that. So just keep your powder dry. Learn to love yourself exactly just the way you are. Try to get as healthy as you can, but love yourself. You're never going to get to that. Nobody's going to be a perfect thin body. All that is made up, computer, digitally fixed. We need to stop having these deities and start loving ourselves as our own person, as our own extension of God. God, God is that tree, and we are that branch, and we need to understand how we have the ability to love as Jesus loved us. But if we don't love ourselves, we can't love anyone. But the hardest love to have is the love of self. So, I love you. I hope that you understand where I'm coming from and understand I'm not trying to be full of ego. I'm just trying to love you guys and know that there's more out there. I lost 60 pounds. I'm healthy. I eat well. I feel good. I sleep good. I don't have the stress that I once had. I don't have the frustration that I once had because I'm loving myself no matter what anybody else thinks of me. Not even my kids. I don't. I love myself. Love yourself. Love others, because you'll be able to love others if you love yourself. And hang on, guys. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Where we go one, we go all.